Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. So this video is about what you actually need in order to fine-tune and do some AI LLM fine-tuning, and if you want to create your own model. And if you are a Windows and Java developer, then this is the video for you. Because there are a lot of surprises, and there are some things that are quite difficult, and there are some things that you just need to know when you want to fine tune an LLM. So this is how to get the correct software installed on your computer, how to get the right environment up and running if you want to run stuff locally, because you can actually just choose to run all of your fine tuning in Google Collaboratory or in one of the other clouds. They also have something like this. Then you actually get I think one GPU for free that you can use. But if you want to run on your own machine, and if you want to, and this is of course cool for debugging, then it's a bit more fun to run on your own machine. Then there are some things that you need to know. So first of all is that you have to look at the resources that you have. Of course, you need to have a GPU, you need to have a graphics card installed. GPU. It is okay that is kind of old, because if you are a beginner to LLM training and fine tuning, then you can just use something called a 4-bit model to rely on. So you just need some GPU and a graphical processor. So you need some kind of GPU. That's the first step. It's okay that it's old. So then the second thing is that you actually need 32 gigabytes of memory, RAM. Of course, there are some. You might see some other specifications that show that you can actually do with less. But in my experience, you really want 32 gigabyte at least, and even more, of course, if you have that. Or if you can get that, then you need 200 gigabytes of disk space. That can be SSD or NVMe or whatever you have. If you don't have that disk space available right now, then you can delete your games or move them to another drive, or install an older SSD. That is actually okay for these models. So then you can place your models on an older SSD, install it, upgrade your computer with your PC with a new SSD. Just make sure that you have like 200 gigabytes of free space, because you need a lot of space when you're playing with these models. Some of them are quite large. Then the next thing is, which is quite important if you're running on Windows, then you need WSL version 2. It's not enough just to have WSL. And if you have an older version, or if you installed Windows for a long time ago, and you also installed and you also opted in for the Windows subsystem for Linux, like I did right here, then you have maybe your default is to create WSL1 containers, and then you actually have to change that and make sure that this is WSL2. And the way to do that is to go to your command prompt right here. You just write WSL-list -v for verbose, and then you get the version also of your WSL. If you don't have it, then just read the guide for how to install a new Ubuntu version 2. WSL. If you only have the Docker desktop, that is the one that comes with the Docker desktop. So of course you also need Docker desktop installed, so maybe I should add that also. So you need Docker desktop, of course. Docker desktop. That is because then you can install WSL. Then you can have WSL2 inside your as a container. And so WSL2 is really important. I was actually stuck for a long time because I was running inside a WSL1 container. So then the next thing that you need is that you need to install something called CUDA. So you need to install CUDA and the CUDA toolkit. And you need to do that on your Windows machine. You should not install this on your Ubuntu WSL instance. You need to install CUDA toolkit and the latest NVIDIA driver. So make sure you update your NVIDIA driver and also install latest and greatest CUDA toolkit right here. There's an easy to use guide right here where you choose your operating system, that you choose your architecture, and you choose the version of Windows, and then you can choose installer, and then you actually just download it and then you install it. And you can see right there, it actually takes up 2 gigabyte of disk space. So 200, so that is why you need so much disk space, because all of the things you're going to install are taking up a lot of space. WSL2 is also going to take a lot of space. Inside your WSL2, then you actually need something called Miniconda. which is a Conda, a lightweight version of Conda. And if you don't know what Conda is, it's a way to actually install and manage your dependencies in Python. So then you install Miniconda, and there's a cool guide right here, because you go to you just Google it, Miniconda install, and then you will come to a guide like this, and then you get the commands that you need to run on your Ubuntu inside the shell. Because the reason why you want Conda, right here, and that is because then you can actually use with Miniconda, then you can choose Python version. So that means you can actually install a one version with maybe Python 3.13, and then if you want to try an older version like 3.9 or something like that, then you can also do that with Miniconda. You just choose the Python version that you want to use. And another thing is that you can actually also use pip with you can also use pip packages with your Miniconda. You just install pip inside your whenever after you have activated your Miniconda environment. Then you just install say Conda install pip. Then you also have that. So Miniconda installed inside your WSL. You need CUDA on your Windows machine. You need WSL2. Make sure that you have that. The reason why you cannot run on your Windows machine directly is that some of the models are using some Linux timer functions. I have a good example right here. So some of the Onslaught models they are used, or the Onslaught library, that actually uses it calls has attribute, and then uses and it calls for set timer on the signal. Inside signal, and that if that returns false, then you cannot do all of the model handling that you want to do in the cool Onslaught library. Onslaught is a very cool library when you want to fine tune, and if you want to do anything with LLMs, then Onslaught is the way to go. It's very efficient. It's also very easy to use, and they have some good documentation. They have a good ecosystem around it, so you want that to work. So I have this test set timer right here. So that means that when I'm running this, then I'm testing that this line is actually works. That I have the attribute set iTimer right here. It needs to be true. If it's not true, that means then that is because I'm running on my local Windows machine instead. Another thing is that you want CUDA to be available. So that is the other thing. So we want the timer right here, and we also want CUDA to be available inside PyTorch. If PyTorch is available as false, that means that you have not installed CUDA correctly yet. So just install. If you have an older version of CUDA, then uninstall and then install the latest and greatest, by following the guide I just showed you. The way to use WSL inside you also need PyCharm. I forgot to say that. So you want to use PyCharm. Of course, you can also use another Python IDE, but PyCharm is the easiest way to go, in my opinion. So you go to PyCharm right here, and then what you do is you go to settings, and then you go to your interpreter. Right here, you can choose different types of interpreters. Usually, you would choose one from your Windows environment, but if you do that, then you will. Maybe I can actually do that. So I have a 3.12 environment right here. Then I press OK. Try to see now that I run the code again. Let's see what happens. I should get a false on the set iTimer has attribute has iTimer now. That will be false because now I'm running on Windows. Look right here, and that means that when you're trying to use Onslaught dependency or Onslaught library, then you will it will fail, and it will give you an error like you don't have the set iTimer signal, so you're not compliant, and then your program will actually break with an exception. Okay, so let us just set it back right here. So the way that you use WSL is you say add interpreter, and then you choose on WSL right here on WSL. And then you point to your. Actually, it's quite smart this system right here, because if you choose Conda, then it can actually find your Conda environments. And per default, I've just installed them inside my home directory, and then Miniconda 3, and then it actually finds all of the. It actually finds all of the environments that I have right here, so they can just choose from a drop down. And then you press create, and then you have your Conda environment up and running. The way to install dependencies and all of the requirements is to go and run the Conda install command. You can also create a requirements.txt file, but be careful because some of your dependencies needs to be installed in a special way, like with PyTorch. PyTorch needs to be installed with a command line because you need to use something called there's another index location that where you have to install it from. Yeah, so just be mindful of that. So PyCharm, Miniconda, and WSL. And then you need something named Ollama. Ollama, that is, it corresponds to Docker if you are a Java developer. So with Ollama, you can build new models, and you can also run existing models. I have Ollama installed right here, so you get a cool client that you can use from your terminal, but you can also just start up the user interface right here, and then you can ask a question. Why is the sky blue? And I've chosen a very small model, so I might get some rubbish back as a response right now. I chose, if you're dealing with, if you're a beginner, then always choose the 4-bit models because they're very small. It's much faster and you need to kind of get a feeling of what is going on. So yeah, and here it streams the response. Blah blah. We don't care about the response, but here it is, and you can choose the model. We can choose the model right here, and you can also use Ollama to build your own models. That is why it's so cool. You can both do that programmatically, and you can also use the Ollama CLI out in the terminal. So we need the Ollama, and then the last thing is Onslaught. Onslaught. That is the correct pronunciation, I think. And here you actually get the documentation of how to fine tune and how to use the LLMs. This is where you learn all the cool stuff. One thing that you need before actually is actually also need Hugging Face. Hugging Face is the same as if you're a Java developer. That will be the same as the Docker Hub. This is where you have all of the models. All the models are located right here. So you need to create an account. You need to create an account right here, and then you need to create an API key. You have to set your environment variable as a Hugging Face API key that you can set in your environment variables. You set that one. Because else, many of the code examples that you will see will actually, will actually expect that you have access to Hugging Face, and they will actually try to download the models in the examples from Hugging Face, and then they will fine tune that model afterwards. So you need Hugging Face. You need to make sure that you can that you have access to Hugging Face with your API key. Yes. Hugging Face right here. Let us just go to so this is the root right here. So you just go and then you press your account right here, and then you can go and say access tokens right there. So you press access tokens, you create a new token, and you set it as an environment. There's a cool guide on Hugging Face, of course, on how to set that one up, and also the name of your variable. So that was another requirement right here. So let us just create a new text right here. So we need Hugging Face API key plus account, and of course it is free to create the basic account. Of course, you can upgrade and get some more services, and you can also host your own private models there. You cannot do that if you have the free tier. Hugging Face. You also need Ollama, which corresponds to Docker. So you can see here there are so many things that you need right here. And to begin with, if you're a Java developer, like I was, or like I saw myself, then there are a lot of things that you need to have in place before you can do some local development. If you want to skip all of it, then of course you can go to Colab Google, and then you can run all of the Python code there instead, and then you don't have to waste your own computer resources on it. The only problem is that I actually like to have full control of what is going on, and also I think debugging is easier when I'm on my local system. So that is why I set all of these things up right here. Yeah, Ollama, Hugging Face, Docker Desktop, WSL2, CUDA, NVIDIA driver, Miniconda, PyCharm. And of course you need some memory, some disk space, and a GPU. When you have done that, then run a script that I have right here. I'll place this on my GitHub account as usual. If you run this and then they all show true, then you are happy, and then you are good to go. That's it. I just thought that it was so difficult actually to set up the environment just to get started with LLM fine tuning that I had to make this video to help other people. To get this far. And it's actually a lot of fun so you can also ask why do we have so many models, but that's because they have different purposes and they are trained and weighted differently, of course. And there's also there's a competition between the big tech companies on how to create the best on creating the best model, because then you are kind of lured into the infrastructure environment, and then of course you will place then you'll pay for the resources. So, but a lot of things are going on right here. So there are a lot of new models are popping up. The Gemma, that's from Google. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's a brave new world if you're a Java developer or DevOps, and if you're not used to this infrastructure right here. And another thing, setting up your own environment actually gives you a good understanding of what is actually required, and also of how it actually works. That means that if you get the DevOps role for some models, then you know which steps that you need to go through, and it's easier to actually set up the DevOps pipeline and the build pipeline and the training pipeline and all that. Google has something called Vertex AI, which is how to set it. They have a lot of cool helpers, and they also have some build pipelines there that can help you if you are new to setting up pipelines. But that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day. Bye bye. And remember to give me a comment. Yes. Bye bye.